Welcome to the podcast. This show is entirely dedicated to the wisdom and the stories of people embracing their true and extraordinary nature, of overcoming, breaking through limits, tapping into universal wisdom, and hopefully inspiring you to do the same. Hey, welcome back to Being Extraordinary. We have another guest episode today, and I'm really excited about this one because as we were preparing ahead of time to talk about the theme, I really felt like we had some parallels. So I'm excited to see how our stories kind of weave in that way. So today we are talking about the journey of reclaiming our true self in a world that really does everything possible to make us fit into some packaged, professional, corporate, digestible version of ourselves. And really what it takes to say, actually, this isn't who I am, and kind of coming back to our trueness. So today we have Megan Crofts with us, and we've been kind of walking alongside on our journeys for a hot minute now, which I love because I've got to watch so much of your journey unfold, which I love, which is great. So Megan is a spiritual entrepreneur, a crystal healing specialist, a podcaster, and someone who's really done that reclamation of self in the most radical and beautiful way imaginable. So I hope as we listen to her story today, we all take a little bit more of our authenticity and our true self into every area of our life, especially the places where we're told to be less or be more digestible, because let's be honest, that's not who we are anyway. So welcome, Megan. Take us on your journey. Let us know about how that kind of unraveling ended up happening.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is an honor, and I'm so excited to share kind of
Me
where
too.
this started for me. So, I have always been kind of a spiritual person, I will say. I've always known that there's something extra than what they teach us in school. From a very young age, I was very much into nature, loved being outside. I made the mud pies, I mixed the bottles of shampoo, and I'm sure my mom hated it, but it was something that
Love it.
felt really natural to me, right? So, have always kind of embraced that. And then once I became this adult, it was like, but here's your box that you need to fit into. And these are the things that you have to do. This is what society tells you. You need to go to school. You need to find a professional job. You need to get married. You need to have babies. You need to do all the things. And forget all of the joy and excitement feeling that you have or the curiosity that you have. You're not allowed to do that. So I was very young when I got into corporate world. I did do school for a little bit, but I just hated it. So I went into corporate land when I was about 19 years old and worked for various banks, credit union, financial industry, many different roles where you were not allowed to show who you are because you have to have this professional image. You have to be this banker person that everybody respects. And not that confidentiality was ever an issue for me, but you always had to keep everything very locked in. You were not allowed to share your opinions or your views on anything. You had to keep that to yourself. So did that for 17 years between one job and the next. Yeah. And the one place was very particular. Like there was only so many colors in the color palette. You were not allowed to wear this color. You were not allowed to wear that color. No pink, no purple, which are two of my favorite colors.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, you were not allowed to show any of that uniqueness. So
That's
really
terrible.
hard to be really shoved into a box, but you were allowed to wear black.
Of course. Always black.
So once I started having kids, that's when I realized like there is a lot more that's happening or going on than what the average person tells us. So while I was at work at that time, again, I was very much put in a box. And then I started to like get into these higher positions where I was actually dealing with like doing investments in that. And with that, I was never allowed to share my opinion. Like people would ask about, oh, what do you think about politics? Well, you're not allowed to talk about that. You're not allowed to have an opinion on that, even though I did have very strong opinions about stuff, as we always do, right? So also too, not only being stuffed in the box as far as like what I was allowed to wear, what I was allowed to say when I was doing investing, it was very much based on intuition. Whether people trusted it or not, we made some really good calls because we were using our intuition as opposed to just willy-nilly picking stuff for people. So
That's cool.
it was cool to see that side of things.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know. I was actually going to be like, do you still do investing? Like, do you invest personally? Because I was like, I should pick your brain about it. How do you pick one? Well, that's kind of cool, but it's not ideal that you couldn't articulate any of your own thoughts or any of your own opinions or any of your own expression. When you really think about it, it's shocking that we ask people to do that. That's the norm because it's kind of
Yes.
cruel. It's kind of cruel.
So this is when I met, when I joined this team, this investing team, that was when I met one of my really good friends. And her and I were able to talk to each other about all of these different things that were happening. So I don't need to get into that, but you know what I mean. Like the weird nuances that have been happening in the world. And so her and I had a really great relationship and we talked openly about it. But again, we never talked to anybody else on our team about it. We talked about investments that we wanted to use because we understood that maybe that investment manager was connected and kind of knew something, but no, we weren't allowed to talk about it in our team meetings. Yeah. So I did have one person that I could talk to, but a lot of times you're by yourself. You have nobody else that's going through the same things that you are. I do appreciate having had at least one person with me. But yeah, then you just kind of get to a point where you're like, you know what? Is it worth it for me to stay hidden like this? Like in all of the things that I've done, I never ever felt appreciated. Never. And that was kind of where, I couldn't do it anymore. No matter what I did, it was never enough. So for me, that was when I was like, you know what? If I'm going to work this hard, I want to do it in my own business and I want to do it for my own benefit, not somebody else's benefit. And here we are.
Amazing. And that's so your story does remind me so much of my story as well, because it was the same thing. It was slightly less of a professional world, but I remember working so incredibly hard for my clients, for the organization. And at the end of my career, I was getting written up by HR, which is insane because everyone else did significantly less than I was, but I just didn't stay quiet, right? I started to say, these are gaps, these are issues, these are things. And we were working on contracts. And I remember saying, if we don't get this together, we're going to lose these contracts. And nobody believed me. But ironically, after I left, they did lose the contract. And I was like, I told you. But there just comes a moment where you are at that breaking point, right? And you're like, I literally can't take this anymore. And anything is better than whatever I was just doing. And sometimes do you feel like it has to get that bad before you're like, I need to leave? How long were you thinking about doing something else versus when the time really happened? Like, did it just have to get grueling before you chose it?
Almost. So for me, like I did this side business for almost 3 years before I finally quit and was like, I've had enough. I cannot do this anymore. I did do some training, like some spiritual training while I was still working there. And in doing that, that was what made me see and realize my potential more, but also my value, because value was a really big thing. They did not value me at all. I don't need to get into it, but I was never ever valued, never valued. And so when I started to do all these other courses, I realized how much more worthy I am of being treated properly than how I was being treated there. I was like, you know what? I cannot do this anymore. This is literally sucking the life out of my soul to be here. Can't do it.
And isn't that funny how that happens? Because again, something really similar happened. Like I remember getting into spirituality and realizing from that perspective that, we're all divinely worthy. We all have these special gifts and talents and purposes and reasons for being here. And if you walk into a room every day where people don't value you, it's like a slap in the face to the divine because they're like, no, you have something to offer. But yet every day you show up where people don't see that. It's such a kind of bad signal to send out into the cosmos about what you believe you're worthy of. And if we manifest and create our reality based on our beliefs about what we're worthy of, we're just really taking the low hanging fruit. And so with your business, you want to tell us a little bit about your business. So you had started it prior to officially leaving. So what kind of stuff were you doing before you really
Yeah.
embraced it full time?
So I started with a few stones, not very many, like 25. And I started doing Reiki and a little bit of card reading, not very much, but just enough to get my toes wet. So then as things progressed and my part-time business started to grow, I was doing, more sessions in evenings or weekends. doing lots of shows on the weekends, like taking my stones kind of all over the place. And then I started getting into like bigger, real spiritual witchy shows, which is what I'm a huge part of today. And my business has grown exponentially since really stepping into the authentic self.
Goosebumps. And so it takes a lot of courage to make that decision, right? To go from this
Absolutely.
guaranteed paycheck to then having to bootstrap your own business. Like,
Mm,
tell us about that transition. Like, did the universe start
yes.
like really working with you? Like, how did it really start to gain momentum?
Well, I'm not going to lie, it was really difficult for the first few months. So, when I was in corporate land, I was our main breadwinner for our family. My husband does like a at-home business, but it's usually just through the summertime because he does a lot of lawn care. So through the winter time, he runs with kids. That was what his job was. And where we lived worked for us because we're not in the city. So our mortgage and everything is super cheap. So it worked just having one of us stay home and one of us work. So then when I left having a solid paycheck, it was like, now how are we going to do this? Like, we really need to start figuring this out, right? And yeah, frankly, the first 6 months were really difficult. But again, the more authentic that I got to be and the more I put myself out there, the more the universe started to deliver. And now, like, it's just flow, right? You just allow it to flow and it is a whole lot easier. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, oh my God, you have to book me like a couple of weeks in advance because my calendar is just getting so busy. Like every weekend, I'm somewhere between now and Christmas for what's that, the next 2 months, I'm booked solid. My during the weeks are starting to get booked up. Like it's amazing when you actually start to live that authentic lifestyle.
Mm, I swear authenticity is the key to success. And so I have like so many
100%.
threads of thoughts for that. But I think that there's that kind of, I call it like the dark before the dawn sometimes when you choose yourself and you get this kind of successful influx right away. But then you have to figure out how to maintain it. And I always tell people
Mhm.
it's like this moment where you have to say, do you really believe that you're worthy of this? Because if it was super easy, everybody
Mhm.
would do it and it wouldn't be so unique anymore. It wouldn't be our path if we could just all be anything at any time, right? We really have to cultivate that self worth in that kind of like dark period right before things pop off. But if you just stand your ground and you're like, no, I know this is my destiny. I know this is why I'm here because I love it so much. Then the universe is like, okay, we got you. And it just starts to open up. It's so cool. Very similar in my journey where I had quit my job and I'd taken a bridge job. So I was at like a kind of government funded job and then I went back to managing a restaurant, which was just like such an ego blow. And I felt like things were like, they were going, but also at the same time, I was taking like nickels and dimes, just anything I could get. But I was like, no, I refuse to give up. And then actually, the lockdowns happened. I got booted out of this bridge job and people were at home with extra pots of money. I ended up gaining like so much momentum through that. And who could have ever predicted that that kind of weird force entry into my destiny would have happened because you never would have been like, oh, everyone's going to be in lockdowns and I will lose the bridge job. That honestly, would I have ever had enough courage to leave? I'm not sure. So the universe just has a way. It's so cool.
It is. And that's where we met because I was doing like a 21-day thing during lockdown
Yes.
and you came in as a guest spot for something. I can't remember exactly what it was. It doesn't matter, but that's how we
Hmm.
met. And look at
Yeah.
now. It's so cool.
It's
It's just
crazy.
amazing to see like when you actually start living. Yeah. Just live authentically, people. If that's the only thing that you get out of this video, live authentically. It will change your life. I
Mm,
promise that.
I love that. And how this would be, you sharing your wisdom, because I know you have a ton of it. If someone's asking themselves, like, well, how do I know what is authentic to me? If they've been so in the box, so diluted, so, like boxed in, what would you say they could start doing in order to start
Mhm.
realizing, like, what is me?
Find the thing that brings you the most joy in any decision that you have to make. Anything, big, small, doesn't matter. What do I wear in the morning? What makes you the most excited or happy? What do I eat for breakfast? What makes you the most excited and happy? What direction do I take to work? Whatever makes you the most excited. Continue to follow excitement. If that is the only thing you do during your day, follow the excitement. Do I want
That
Subway or do
is
I
gold.
want soup? Follow what makes you happy.
Gold, because it says two things, right? It's actually asking your body, your soul, what is it that you are here for? What is it that you want to experience? But at the same time, it's also an immense amount of presence, which is the magic button for everything. You know, it's a cliche for a reason. Magic is in the present moment because it's literally true. And there's definitely a difference between hearing something
It
and
is so
feeling
true.
something in your body, but it is just true, right?
So true. It's crazy.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Just continue to follow whatever makes you the most excited.
I love
Mhm.
that. So your whole life, I'm just curious, like with the crystals and the healing and these things that have really created this curiosity, like, is it something that's been a part of your life forever?
Crystals have been. Yes. So I was thinking back to that because, people always ask me, like, well, how long have you been doing or using stones? Like, however you want to word it. And I'm like, I cannot remember a time in my life when I was not drawn to stones. Um, I can recall specifically, I will use this example. I would have been probably grade 4 or 5, something like that. We lived in Alberta in Lethbridge. And so we went to this place called Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. So it's kind of like what Wanuskewin would be here, but it's in southern Alberta. And I specifically remember buying a stone on a necklace, like on a leather chain or whatever. That was what my souvenir was from this shop. And this was grade 3, 4, 5. Like that's when we lived. There was when I was in grade 3, 4, and 5. So in there, I'm guessing grade 4. So like it's always been something that I have loved stones.
And see, I swear there's like a lot of keys to who your authentic self is when you think about your childhood, because
100%.
sometimes it's hard to remember because for me, it's difficult to quantify. Like, but I know that I've been extremely curious and very, very observant and like always asking, like, why would someone do that? Or why are we here? Or why do people do what they do? So, like, I was very, very sheltered growing up, like farm kid through and through, didn't really come to the city. There was 8 kids in my elementary class, like my grade. There wasn't really anything to do but be authentic because I didn't even know what brand names were until I got to high school, which was colossally late compared to everyone else. And that journey from 8 kids in a classroom to 800 in your grade was like, oh, I didn't understand
Holy
what people
cow.
were doing. Nothing made any sense. That alone, like, I was always like, why would people do that? Why do people buy $80,000 vehicles, but yet they're like incredibly grumpy or angry? Or why do people do this? Or why do people do that? And that constant inquisition is exactly what I do now. Like that curiosity is insatiable. And now I've ended up tapping into the fabric of reality and karma and reincarnation. And so sometimes it is hard to quantify what your inner child was interested in because I was always just really curious, but it's there. It's for sure there. Or those questions that you're like, I just want to know the answer to this, or I just want to figure this out, or I just want to be like this. You'll just get there if you just listen a little bit. Because I remember saying to myself, this is kind of funny, even when I was like, probably like an early teen, I would say things like, I can't wait to die just to remember what is going on here. And I didn't mean it in like a emo way. I just was so frustrated that I couldn't figure out what we were doing here. And then now it's like, oh, if you just ask that question long enough, you start to get into what we're doing here. And so there's just your inner child has the magic. She knows, they know. It's so cool.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah.
That is definitely something that I have tapped into lately too. And the information that they can share for you or to you when you're ready is awesome. It is next level. Uh yeah.
That's so
Get some
cool.
Kleenex, but when you're ready, you're ready.
For sure. I agree. Some Kleenex for certain. So, what has been the best part about choosing your authentic path? Like, what are some of the perks that have come along with that? Or what's the best thing that's really become of it?
My goodness. Okay, besides the freedom to choose what I actually want to do in a day. Awesome. Love it. It's great. But some other little things is feeling like I never am actually working. Like today, this is my job for today. How cool is this? I get to hang out with Kayla and have a conversation about how life has been. That's my job, and I love
Amazing.
it. When you don't feel like, or when you're more aligned with what you're supposed to be doing in life, that's when it just flows so easily, right? And just continue to follow that. It's awesome.
I
I don't
agree.
know. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just amazing. Like there's just so much freedom that comes with choosing authenticity and your authentic path. And yeah, you follow the joy and you get to do the things that you love, like which experience in Saskatoon. And like the first night goes till 10 o'clock and the second night goes till 9 o'clock. And for most people are like, holy man, that's a really late night. But for me, I'm like, I feel so energized because it's what I love to do. It would be awful, right?
Oh, and all the amazing people that you probably get to meet in your
Hmm.
tours because you get to travel, you get to meet a ton of other people. Like, I can't even imagine probably like the relationships, business, but also friendships that have formulated that in those experiences. And the coolest part is they're people that are like you know, not having to go into these stale environments and try to resonate with someone who doesn't even speak the same language as your soul. It just makes you want to exhale because what a reprieve. Like, what an amazing path.
Yeah. And it's pretty awesome. Like, so when I go to PA, we try to see each other when I'm there. And it's just awesome to be able to have a real conversation with somebody that isn't about the freaking weather.
I agree
Look,
completely. No, I do you find this is just like a personal anecdote, but the more you go on this path for me, like truly the less tolerable I am to small talk. Like it was like
oh,
a
big
funny
time.
joke a couple years ago, but now like if I see someone at the store that I'm like, I don't want to talk about the weather today, I'll just beeline out of there or I'll just like kind of smile and nod and be like, I don't want to have a conversation. It's exhausting. Oh my God.
Uh-huh. I feel you.
Yeah, I don't wanna be that person because it sounds so rude, but the farther you go in, you're like, it's just kind of like torture a little bit. I don't know how to
Yes.
describe it, but it's physically uncomfortable to be in your body for those 10 minutes or 5 minutes, like, it sucks.
Now, luckily for me, though, like living in Saskatoon, I don't have that very much because I'm still kind of anonymous here. But when I go like back to Dinsmore, where I really live, yeah, I definitely have some of those days where I'm like, I just can't
Mhm.
today.
Amazing. Yeah, so the coolest thing about your story that I got to witness as an observer, okay, so I'll take you on how it looks from my perspective for the listeners.
Would
So
love that.
I had worked with Megan, and a lot of the times, like, our conversations were literally about how work was sucking the life out of you. I remember, like, yeah, like, we were talking about that because same. And it just felt like, as an observer, one day you were like, fuck it. You just pulled the trigger, you quit your job, and then all of a sudden I see like all these pop-up dates of travel. And then like I don't how long was it before you had a storefront from when you left? Because then the storefront came.
I'm on 51st and Faithful. So it's
Okay.
inside my parents' store. So I've always had a little bit of stuff set up here, but now I got a lot of stuff set up now.
And I was just like, as if, like, I didn't know your parents had a store. And it just went from, yeah, like Dinsmore, Saskatchewan, frustrating job. And all of a sudden it was like, I'm traveling everywhere and I have a store in Saskatoon. And I was like, what? And your store is doing like really well, right? Like you're traveling, your store, like people know about you. I see you collaborating with other people. And I'm like, that was so fast. Like as an observer, you just decided and the universe rolled out that red carpet and was like, yep, here it is. Amazing.
Which is cool because it's really neat to hear it from somebody else's point of view. Because for me, I'm like, oh, it's taking forever. Why is this taking so long? You know, to me, it feels like it's taken a really long time, but it's so cool to hear it from somebody else's point of view. And they're like, holy man, that.
Yeah, like a tornado hit and your life just changed. Like that's what it looks like from over here. I just think it should be an inspiration to all people. And I feel the same. Like sometimes you're in it and I think it does look like you're just acing everything at life, but you're like, they don't see how hard you are grueling in the background because that hard work makes it feel like forever, right? I know how the background
Mhm.
feels, but as an observer, it's just like, it's inspiring, honestly. Like, you know, even though maybe I live in a spiritual reality is so affirming to see someone else doing it. And then it's just like all any like of your little doubts that are like, well, are you crazy? Should you be institutionalized? Is this going to work out the way you want it to? You see someone else do it and you're like, no, this is the truth. This is the truth of reality that your authenticity sets you free. It's just true.
So true. It's so true. One other thing, I was going to add this earlier and then it kind of popped away. But you're talking about when you go to owning your own business. And one of the hardest things I did find, I will not lie, was wearing all of the hats, which you can probably attest to. So at first you're like, yeah, I like create the odd post, but now you- you're basically a content creator for people. You have to continuously create that stuff, but you also have to book shows and hotel rooms if you're going somewhere. Um, and like just all the things. And I also have three children. So like I got to figure out where people are going to and how are they going to get these places. So that was definitely a harder thing as well. You're everyone. You are all the hats. You're the manager, the HR person, CEO, like you literally do it all. You do it all.
Oh my God. I can't imagine also having, yeah, three kids that have schedules and you're kind of between two places, right? Like you're in Saskatoon, you're also booking shows, and then your family is in a totally different city or town. So that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. An hour and a half away.
It's far too.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Wearing all the hats. Yeah, it's not easy. And for me, ironically, you probably don't have this problem because you're in the financial world, but I bookkeeping and taxes and that stuff that I do understand because I had worked in bookkeeping a little bit at certain jobs. Like it was a part of your job was to have records. So I understood the concept. But when you're in a whirlwind of just booking, getting sessions done, getting content out there, like so messy. So yeah, you're your bookkeeper, you're your content creator, you're your own secretary. You are also doing the meat and potatoes of what your job actually is, which is what people think you do, right? Where they think that you're, the crystal healing specialist or the Akashic records reader, but you're actually like in time management. Yeah. But I secretly love like administrative tasks. Like I secretly love like maybe like writing the emails or getting podcasts prepared or like whatever, because it just feels like so in flow. But because it doesn't directly correlate to paying a bill, it's just something that falls to the wayside all the time. So I'm trying to get better. 2026,
Right.
my vision is quality and consistency because that hasn't been the case. You fly by the seat of your pants, right? Like that's how it feels. It's
All
the
the time.
emergency. But it's kind of like fun, we're laughing about it. Like some days it doesn't always feel that way, but everything always works out. You get frustrated because you can't control that or you couldn't micromanage. Like for me, I couldn't control that. I couldn't micromanage that. Is it as high of quality as it could have been if I would have had ample time? Yeah, probably not. But it's just like it always works out. And Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, no, it was not.
And I think that's
Yeah,
important
and
for
I have a ton of support here as well. My mom helps me with all of my bookkeeping stuff. Thank you, mom.
us. Yeah,
She,
thanks,
she does
mom.
she does all of that for me, and I'm like, we got to do the GST PFC today, and yeah, she helps me with that. So I really do have a lot of support. She does come and help me at shows. If you see a short little lady that looks a lot like me, that's my mama. Yeah, she comes and
Oh,
helps me
sweet.
and does lots of that. So it really does take a village as well. Like you can expect to do all of it on your own as much as you're supposed to. You really can't. So having that support system in place is important as well. And I am really grateful. I do have a really great support system.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a huge asset. Yeah. I agree with the support system. I feel like my support system is my partner. And honestly, without him, I probably would have like bitched out of this career a long time ago. Every time I was like, like earlier on, should I get another job? He was always, no, don't do it. Without, that's rare, I think, if someone's like, okay, because we split everything 50-50 in our household. And I think sometimes that I've heard people say, oh, your partner probably pays everything. Like, no, we split everything right down the middle. He's also an entrepreneur. So we are always in this building era. And so to have a partner where you're really kind of slipping on your half, okay, I'm going to be 2 days late with this. I'm going to be 3 days late with that. For him to say, don't give up on your dream, I really don't think a lot of partners would necessarily have said that when they're watching the mayhem of entrepreneurial endeavors, because it is mayhem at some point. But yeah, having those people that support you
Absolutely.
is huge. Yeah, I agree. And then not being afraid to ask for help, because I
Absolutely.
think for a portion in time, I was like, I should be able to do everything, but you just can't. You have to ask for help, right? So I think that's really valuable.
To support you and cheer you on.
Yeah,
Yeah, but good for him for cheering you on and saying like, no, Kayla, you can do this. I know it's really hard right now, but you can still do this. That
exactly.
was amazing.
I had like I had a speech because I just launched something that was incredibly scary for me. So I like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. It worked out. It's working out. And I was like almost joking, like accepting an Academy Award. I'd like to thank myself, but like kind of like the Snoop Dogg thing. And he was like, don't forget about me. Okay. Because honestly, you would have quit this career a long time ago if it wasn't. I was like, wow, it kind of hit me. I was like, you're right. If you were anyone else, I wouldn't have quit, but I would not be where I am today because I would have been half in, half out, right? I was like, okay, thank you to Graham. I really appreciate it. And it was funny moments. Yeah. I also hope that anyone who's listening that is like, I want to go on my authentic path, but I'm terrified. It's normal to be terrified. And for the love of God, it doesn't have to be perfect day one. Like, just get your feet wet, like, figure it out, grow, evolve,
Yeah.
adapt, overcome, right?
Yeah. Starting your own business from ground zero is difficult. However, the payoff in the end for me has been really, really worth it. I'm really grateful to be at the place that I am. Really, only 2 years into this journey. It was 2 years ago in October here that I left the credit union.
See, so fast as an observer, so fast. 2 years, amazing. Um, Yeah, it is difficult. There are difficult parts of it, but like you said, the positive vastly outweighs the negative. Like, I posted not that long ago on my Instagram, but like I was walking my dog one morning and I was like really tired and I didn't really want to be there, but I was like, she's got to get exercise, you know? And all of a sudden I had this like moment of being like, I used to cry every morning that my alarm would go off. It felt way too early. It felt like I had to go someplace that was torture. And I would like beg the universe for like another 5 minutes of sleep. And I'm crying, like literally heartbreak every day you get up. And now I just get to get up and like, I just have the morning for myself for the most part because I just need that space and time to organize what I'm doing. And I literally prayed for that. And you get to just have slow mornings if you want, or you get to have late nights with people who are, have same mindsets and have these amazing conversations and decide how your day is going to look. Today I'm podcasting. Today I'm, at the storefront. Today I'm this. It's so amazing. It's incredible to have that authority over your life, I guess.
Yes, yes. Sovereignty. How about?
Yes, sovereignty. I like that a lot better. Sovereignty in your life. So, if you had one final parting wisdom for the listeners about embracing their true self, what would you want to bestow upon them?
Stay authentic, follow your path, always follow what brings you the most joy and excitement. And I promise your life will change immensely. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, it's not all easy. But if you continue to choose the thing that makes you the most excited, I promise life starts to get a lot better and easier.
Goosebumps. I love that. Okay. And if people want to find you, if they want to check out your store, check out what you have to offer, how can
So I'm in Saskatoon on 51st and Faithful. Online, Facebook, Instagram are Mountain Ore Crystals. And I'm not really one for TikTok. Sorry, guys.
it's fine. I gave it a whirl. Didn't like it. Okay. Do you have any shows? Do you have any shows coming up before the end of the year that you'd want people to know about?
Oh, sure. So this weekend, well, Halloween weekend or Samhain for us real witches happening in Saskatoon. I'm so excited. The witch experience, amazing. Unreal energy. I will be in PA on November 8 and 9 for the Focus on Christmas. I will be going to Lloydminster the weekend after, so like the 14, 15, 16, I think it is. And then I will be at the Festival of Trees in Saskatoon over the 21st and 22nd, I think, thereabouts. Then I have a little bit of a break on November 30th. I'm in Herschel, Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere, but it's so much fun. And then I'll be back in PA again on the 6th of December and on the 20th of December for Soul Seeds. And that one, I'm going to be doing some healing sessions as well.
That's so fun. Okay, so we will link all those events, or we'll put the calendar below. And then we'll also have your Instagram and Facebook if people want to give you a follow and check out your goods. So I cannot thank you enough for being here. That was like so soul fulfilling, soul nourishing for me to, have a conversation with someone who's on the same path and just that, I don't know, that confirmation of just everything you're on the right, it's your destiny. Destiny works that way, right? So I cannot thank you enough for being here, taking the time out of your busy career to have a chat with us today. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me. I just love this. This is so awesome. I had a really great visit and I always love catching up with you too. Always a good time.
Yes. Well, thank you. Okay, so we missed Megan at the Witches Weekend in Saskatoon, but from what I gathered, she had a fantastic weekend, and I hope the rest of you have a chance to catch her at some of her upcoming events. So I just wanted to let listeners know about an offering that I have for the turn of the new year. So from November to about February, I offer small sessions called Chapter Ahead sessions, and they're about 20 to 30 minutes long, and they're only 55 Canadian dollars. And they are some of my favorite things to do every year. So it's a little glimpse into what our soul is stepping into in the coming year. So regardless of what we wish were true or what we believe to be true, our soul is always learning and growing on Earth. This is Earth School. And kind of every turn of the year, as well as every birthday, but we're talking about the turn of the year, there's sort of a new chapter and a new saga and a new invitation for our soul to begin to develop. And what we do with this chapter head is we actually take a peek at what that is for you. So kind of, where are you coming from? How does this following year, which is going to be 2026, build upon where you're coming from? What's the karmic theme? Why are you learning this lesson right now? And then most importantly, how can you maximize or optimize the year and the invitation for this soul growth? And how can you avoid pitfalls? And this session was actually created because of my own fears about the unknown. So, I went through a really tough year in 2022, and I could have done a lot better if I had known what was coming at me. So I actually created the session for myself. So every year I actually check in, okay, well, what am I working on this year? And how can I be aware? What's the peak experience? What's the valley? And how can I empower myself to stay into the peak? So you kind of get like a sneak preview of what exactly is being invited into you in the coming year and how you can make the most of it. And it's a saving grace for me personally, and I love offering it to you guys as well. These are sessions that other people often really love. And one thing that's really important to know is that I'm not here to reveal the future. My standpoint essentially is that we create our own future, that the choices we make create consequences, and we're always in that creative control because we have free will. I always tell people I have a loose definition of fate versus free will, which is that when you live unconsciously and you just autopilot through life, then sort of fated events have to kind of grab your awareness to wake you up so that you can live more consciously, more intentionally. I find fated events happen the more unconscious you are. The more conscious and aware you become, the more free will is available to you. And it's a loose definition, but that's really my observation over years of experience, analyzing my experiences, and then watching, all of you go through your experiences as well. So it's an incredible offering. It's here for a very limited time. People typically really love it. A lot of the feedback that I get is around the fact that when you first hear it, it is somewhat kind of broad. Like it's a bit general. That's what we want. I don't want to know minute to minute what's going to happen to me. I want to believe that I'm in creative control. So it's really this, you know, it feels a bit broad sometimes, but the feedback is often midway through the year. I'll get these messages from people who have had the session, and they're like, you nailed it. This is totally what's happening to me. I finally see the theme. Thank you for the session, because I knew what I needed to do when that event or that opportunity came my way. And then it's also a great check-in throughout the year. So let's say you have an opportunity or you have an event in your life or something happens, and you can kind of reflect on your chapter ahead session and say, oh, I remember that this year I'm supposed to be stepping into my power, or I'm supposed to be refining what I actually engage in, or I'm supposed to be resting, or I'm supposed to be stepping out of my comfort zone. And it can kind of give you that extra boost, and compass as the year unfolds. So I'll also link those in the description below. I would love to get that set up for you. And it's my most accessible, affordable offering that people just really enjoy. The only thing to note is it is a very popular offering. So if you do order it, sometimes they take like longer than I hope. I usually say my waiting time is 7 to 14 business days. So like 1 to 2 weeks. But with these, sometimes, very rarely, because they are short sessions, it takes actually longer than that just because of the demand. And it all sort of influxes kind of this time. So get on those. If you have any questions about them, shoot me an email. And I am wishing you guys an incredible week.